They say Dean Martin died on Christmas Day 1995. But that's not true. The real Dean Martin died on a warm summer evening in 1943, outside a small church in Steubenville, Ohio. He died the moment a girl with emerald eyes and auburn hair said 5 words that would haunt him forever. The body kept singing for another 52 years. But the heart was buried that night. Her name was Elena Rosetti. This isn't just another Hollywood romance gone wrong. This is the story of how class, timing, and one family's cruelty created the most famous broken heart in show business. Because the Dean Martin you knew, the smooth crooner with the devil-may-care attitude, that was just a mask hiding a wound that never healed. Picture this. It's 1940. Dino Crocetti is 23 years old, working at the Mounds Club in Steubenville, dealing blackjack to steelworkers and mobsters. His hands are already smooth from the cards. But his heart is still wide open. He hasn't learned to protect it yet. He hasn't learned that some doors are meant to stay closed forever. Elena Rosetti walks into the Mounds Club on a Friday night in October. She's not supposed to be there. Good Italian girls from the wealthy side of town don't venture into gambling dens. She's 19, fresh from finishing school, with eyes like spring leaves and a laugh that could wake the dead. Dino sees her from across the smoky room, and his world tilts. Not shifts, tilts, like the earth suddenly forgot how to spin properly. She's wearing a green dress that matches her eyes, and when she smiles at something her friend whispers, Dino feels his chest tighten in a way that has nothing to do with the smoke. He's dated plenty of girls. Hell, he's charmed half the eligible women in Steubenville. But this is different. This is lightning in a bottle. But here's what nobody tells you about love at first sight. It's not romantic. It's terrifying. Because somewhere deep in your soul, you know that this person, this stranger across a crowded room, has the power to destroy you completely. And you walk towards them anyway. Dino abandons his blackjack table mid-hand. The pit boss yells after him, but he doesn't hear it. He walks straight to Elena's table, where she's nursing a ginger ale and pretending she knows how to bet on craps. "You're holding the dice wrong," he says, his voice softer than usual. Elena looks up, and when their eyes meet, something shifts in the universe. "Show me the right way," she said. For the next 3 hours, Dino teaches Elena how to gamble. But what he's really doing is falling. Falling hard and fast and completely. She's smart. Not just book smart, but street smart. She asks questions that make him think. She laughs at his jokes, but more importantly, she calls him on his bullshit. When he tries to impress her with stories about his boxing career, she just raises an eyebrow and says, "Is that supposed to impress me?" Nobody talks to Dano like that. Nobody challenges him. But Elena does, and God help him, he loves it. When the club closes at 3 a.m., Dino walks Elena to her car, a gleaming 1940 Packard that costs more than he makes in 2 years. It should be a warning sign. It should remind him of the gulf between their worlds. But when she turns to say goodnight and touches his arm, all he can think is how perfectly her hand fits there. "I had fun tonight," she says. "Maybe I'll come back sometime." "Maybe you will," Dino replies, trying to sound casual while his heart hammers against his ribs. "Maybe I'll be here." She smiles, and he realizes he would wait forever for that smile. What follows is 6 months of the most intense, impossible romance in Steubenville history. They meet in shadows, at the old steel mill, by the Ohio River, stealing moments when the world isn't watching. With every stolen kiss, Dano falls deeper. Elena sees past the tough guy facade. She sees the dreams Dino keeps hidden. His desire to sing, to make something of himself beyond the gambling and the fighting. She encourages him to audition for local bands. She helps him practice his diction, smoothing out the rough edges of his accent. "You have something special," she tells him one afternoon as they sit by the river. "Don't let this town bury it." It's Elena who first suggests he change his name. "Dino Crocetti sounds like a bootlegger," she says with a laugh. "You need something that rolls off the tongue. Something smooth." "Like what?" he asks. She thinks for a moment, then smiles. Dean Martin. It sounds like Starlight." But love stories like this don't have happy endings. Not in 1943. Not when she's the daughter of the wealthiest Italian family in the valley, and he's a blackjack dealer from the wrong side of the tracks. The Rosetti family owns 3 steel mills, 2 banks, and half the politicians in eastern Ohio. They didn't build their fortune to watch it disappear into the hands of a gambling house employee with big dreams and bigger fists. Elena's father, Dominic Rosetti, is a man who built his empire with equal parts charm and ruthlessness. To the outside world, he's a philanthropist, a pillar of the community. But behind closed doors, he's the kind of man who sees people as assets or liabilities, nothing in between. And when he discovers his daughter's secret romance with the blackjack dealer, Dino Crosetti becomes the biggest liability of his life. But Dominic Rosetti is too smart to make a scene, too smart to forbid the relationship outright. That would only drive Elena deeper into Dino's arms. Instead, he does something far more cruel. He offers Dino everything he thinks he wants. It's a Wednesday night in March 1943. Dino is called to Mr. Rosetti's office. Not his home, but his real office. The one above the First National Bank. The one with the thick oak doors and windows that overlook the entire city. Dino climbs those stairs knowing this conversation will change his life. He just doesn't know how. Dominic Rosetti is sitting behind a massive desk, smoking a Cuban cigar. He doesn't offer Dino a seat. "You know why you're here," Rosetti says. "You love my daughter, and she loves you." Dino's voice is steady despite his trembling hands. "Yes, sir." Rosetti pulls out a leather folder. "Job in Los Angeles. Record label. 3 times your current salary. It's the kind of opportunity that could set you up for life." "Why would you help me?" Dino asks. Rosetti leans back and smiles coldly. "Because Elena is 19, beautiful, and comes from money. Do you really think she'll be happy married to a blackjack dealer forever? You want to know why singers don't make it out of Ohio? Because talent isn't enough. You need connections, money, people who open doors. Those people don't take meetings with dealers from Steubenville." He slides the folder across the desk. "But this job could change all of that. You could learn the business, meet the right people. Maybe in 5-10 years you'd be in a position to take care of a woman like Elena, to give her the life she deserves." "And if I don't take it?" Dino asks, though he already knows the answer. "Then you marry a girl who will spend the rest of her life wondering what she gave up for you. You'll see it in her eyes when you can't afford the things she's used to. You'll hear it in her voice when your friends can't hold a conversation about anything more sophisticated than the weather. And eventually that love you think is so strong, it'll turn into resentment. Maybe not today, maybe not next year, but someday." Rosetti stands up and walks to the window. "I'm offering you a chance to become the man Elena deserves. Or you can stay here and watch love slowly poison itself." The room falls silent, except for the ticking of an antique clock on the wall. Each tick sounds like a gunshot. "What if I say no?" Dino asks. "What if we leave together?" Rosetti turns around and, for the first time, his mask slips. For just a moment, Dino sees the steel beneath the charm. Then you'll learn what happens to people who try to steal from the Rosetti family. And Elena will learn what it means to be cut off from everyone and everything she's ever known. No money, no family, no friends. Just you and her against the world. Think she's strong enough for that? But here's the thing about Dean Martin that most people never understood. He wasn't just cool. He wasn't just smooth. He was fundamentally decent. Even as a young man, even in love, even facing the worst choice of his life, he couldn't bring himself to destroy someone he loved. Because that's what real love is, isn't it? Sometimes it's not fighting for someone. Sometimes it's letting them go. That night, Dino meets Elena at their usual place by the river. She's wearing a blue dress, and in the moonlight, she looks like something from a dream. She runs to him the way she always does, but this time he doesn't catch her. This time he takes a step back.
"What's wrong?" she asks, and he can hear the fear in her voice.
Women always know. They can smell heartbreak coming from a mile away. Dino looks at her, this beautiful, trusting girl who loves him with everything she has, and he makes the hardest choice of his life. I got offered a job, he says, in Los Angeles. Elena's face lights up. Dino, that's wonderful. We can finally get out of this town. We can start fresh. Just the two of us. No, he says quietly. Not us. Just me. The silence that follows is the loudest thing he's ever heard. Elena stares at him like he's speaking a foreign language. I don't understand. I'm not taking you with me, Elena. We're done. What happens next breaks both their hearts. Elena doesn't cry. She doesn't beg. She just looks at him with those green eyes and says the 5 words that will haunt him forever. You're just like everyone else. She turns and walks away, and Dano lets her go. He watches her disappear into the darkness and feels something die inside his chest. Something that will never come back to life. 3 days later, Dino Crocetti boards a train to Los Angeles. By the time it crosses the Ohio state line, he's already started becoming Dean Martin. Not because he wants to, but because Dino Crocetti was the man who loved Elena Rosetti, and that man is too broken to exist anymore. For the next 50 years, every time Dean steps on stage, he's trying to fill the hole Elena left behind. But some holes are too perfectly shaped to be filled by anything else. In 1962, at the height of his fame, Dean receives a letter. Inside is Elena's wedding announcement. At the bottom, in barely legible pencil, I still remember everything. Dean keeps that letter in his wallet for the rest of his life. Elena Rosetti, Elena Morrison now, dies in 1987. The same year Dean loses his son, the obituary mentions her charity work, her children, her devotion to her husband of 25 years. It doesn't mention that she kept a record of That's Amore hidden in her jewelry box, or that sometimes, late at night, she would play it and remember a boy who made her laugh by the Ohio River. Dean doesn't attend the funeral. He's afraid of what he might see in the faces of her children, afraid he might recognize something of himself in them, or something of her. Instead, he sends flowers, white roses, no card. But 6 months later, on a cold February night, Dean drives to Steubenville. It's the first time he's been back in 40 years. He parks outside St. Anthony's Church and walks through the cemetery until he finds her grave. The headstone is simple. Elena Morrison, beloved wife and mother. Dean stands there for an hour, his breath forming clouds in the frozen air. He doesn't say goodbye. He doesn't apologize. He just stands there, thinking about a girl in a green dress who once believed in his dreams. Finally, he reaches into his coat and pulls out a single red rose, the same color as her hair. He places it on the grave and walks away. The groundskeeper finds the rose the next morning, frozen solid but still beautiful. He starts to throw it away, then stops. Something about it seems important, so he leaves it there, where it stays until spring melts it back into the earth. Dean Martin never talks about Elena publicly, not to his friends, not to his wives, not to the press. But sometimes, on stage in Vegas, when he's singing Everybody Loves Somebody, he'll close his eyes during the bridge. And for just a moment his voice will crack slightly, so slightly that only the most careful listeners notice. Those who do notice think it's part of the act, part of the charm. But it's not an act. It's the sound of a heart that never quite learned to beat properly after it was broken. It's the sound of a man who learned too late that some choices can't be undone, some words can't be unsaid, and some loves are supposed to last forever. This is the real story of Dean Martin. Not the king of cool, not the Rat Pack legend, not the smooth entertainer who made everything look easy. This is the story of Dino Crocetti, who gave up the only woman he ever truly loved because he thought it was the right thing to do. And maybe it was. Maybe Elena had a better life with her steel company executive. Maybe she was happier with her charity work and her children and her respectable marriage. But sometimes late at night, when Dean would sit alone in his Beverly Hills mansion, surrounded by gold records and empty bottles, he would wonder if she ever missed the boy by the river. He would wonder if she ever regretted saying yes to safety instead of yes to love. He would wonder if somewhere in Pennsylvania, a woman with gray hair and green eyes ever hummed That's Amore and remembered when the world was young and anything seemed possible. Love is supposed to conquer all. That's what they tell you in songs and movies and fairy tales. But sometimes love is the enemy of love. Sometimes caring about someone means walking away from them. Sometimes the greatest act of love is letting someone else's dreams matter more than your own. Dean Martin understood that. It's why he never remarried for love after Elena. It's why he kept every relationship at arm's length. It's why he perfected the art of being charming without being vulnerable, entertaining without being real. Because once you've loved someone with everything you have and given them up for their own good, every other relationship feels like acting. The tragedy of Dean Martin isn't that he never found love again. It's that he found it once, when he was too young to know its value and too decent to hold on to it when holding on would have hurt the person he loved most. He learned too late that sometimes you have to be selfish. Sometimes you have to fight for what you want. So the next time you hear Dean Martin's voice, smooth and effortless, remember this: behind every note is the ghost of a love that might have been. Behind every perfectly timed joke is the memory of a girl who laughed like music. Behind every lazy grin is the knowledge that some mistakes are too big to fix. That's the real Dean Martin story. Not the legend, but the man. Not the king of cool, but the boy who loved too much and lost too early, and spent the rest of his life trying to forget how it felt to be perfectly happy. Even kings, it turns out, have broken hearts.